Hi YouTube. Today I'm going to talk about how I increased my income every year since 2018. I was checking in my tax app the other day and it has a lot of history going back. I didn't realize I could scroll back and see my income over the recent years. So as I was scrolling back, I was like, oh, look, bump, bump, bump. So it was going up. So that was nice. Even though I've had some difficult times, I quit a job and got a job that I didn't like and had to have a period of time without a job. I then got my old job back. In the meantime, I found another job which I liked better. So, but each year, I was able to increase my income. And for a portion of the last financial year, because in Australia we do our tax on a financial year which starts on the 1st of June of a year and ends on the starts on the 1st of July and ends on the 30th of June of the following year. So as I'm preparing some documents for my tax return, I was able to review that my income this year was a good level, and that's because I did go full time. So I was really working on trying to pay off my HECS debt, so I increased my hours at my counselling work to a full-time load. And that was busy but good because it was a bit like hustly, and I couldn't do as many of the things that I do to relax as I would have liked, but I definitely was able to achieve that financial goal of paying off my HECS, so that made it worthwhile. And so I thought I'd tell you a little bit about how I managed. So I feel like obviously I'm not telling you that like I have it all figured out or this is the best way to go, but I could just share what I did. So I think it was the start of a school year, and I think I'd been doing a little bit of work for myself. I'd been doing some Chinese teaching, some language tutoring, and I'd been doing some yoga teaching. And I got to the start of a new school year and my children were 1 year older and they went off to school, and I felt like I had like some spare capacity and I didn't just want to work for myself anymore. I wanted to have to take the pressure off those other things by having like a steady income. And actually I was looking at the bills, I think it was the start of February, and I was looking at the bills and I was like, I really need to be working. So I just rang this employment agency and said, I need to be working. I'll do anything admin related. What have you got? And I live on like the eastern side of Brisbane, and they said, oh, we've got some work over in Inala, which is like on the other side of town, like it's a 45-minute drive. They said, would you go to Inala? And I was like, sure. So I started working 2 days a week in Inala. So I was literally like, I need to be working, send me, and they sent me straight away to 2 days a week. So that was perfect. And then after I'd done that for a little while, they were like, we're happy with you, we like what you're doing, we've got another health centre that we need you to go and work at on your side of town. So then I had like this 6 months of 2 days a week working in an admin role in a health centre. And so I did that, and that was actually really good. So it was 2 days a week. It was not very stimulating work, but it was regular income. And that was my first bump. So by the time June of that year came around, and that was an ongoing, that was a short-term fill-in role, so it didn't extend. But that was the first time when I'd earned an income since having children, as in like a paid salary, like a wage kind of thing from someone else. And so that was really good. And then that ended, and so then I knew someone who was an accountant, and he had an accounting practice. He's like, can you come and do admin at my work? So I did that for a little while. That wasn't that good, but it brought in some money. And then at the start of the next year, actually the money that I earned from that was we used to go to New Zealand on a holiday. So you'll see in my YouTube videos, and I'll link it below in the notes, we did like a camper van trip in New Zealand, and I made like a little tour of the camper van, so you can check that out. The kids went back to school, and then one of my children needed orthodontic work, and that's quite an expensive thing. So once again, I was like, okay, I need to be working. I've got to save up money for this orthodontic bill. So the same company, the recruitment agency that had hired me for that admin role was hiring for another full-time role this time for 6 weeks for the election in Australia, for the federal election. And that was actually really fun. So I was like a team leader for that role, and it was a little bit tricky logistics wise, but I really enjoyed getting up in the dark, heading off early. I was home at a decent hour, like I think it was 7 till 3. So I was home for the afternoon running around. And it was also really good to be earning a full-time wage again. So that was super motivating, and I really enjoyed that. And so that was a good chunk of money. So that was how that year I bumped up my income, and I was able to contribute to the orthodontic bill, which was quite high. But anyway, that was all worth it. And because I'd done well at that, they kept me on, and I did some more data entry for them. And then the same recruitment firm found me a full-time role in the city for 6 weeks in the next financial year, and I did that, and I really enjoyed that, and that was good to have full-time pay. However, they wanted to keep me on in a full-time role, but I actually couldn't sustain the full-time work with the kids with their extracurricular activities. And by this time I was already studying psychology, and that's when I got my job as a telephone counselor. And that was part-time, so that wasn't that was more sustainable because it was long-term, but it was only part-time because I was studying and obviously had my family commitments. And that stayed part-time, but I was able to increase my hours. So that's gradually increased. In the middle, as I said, I quit a job. I quit that job. I got another job, which was terrible. And then I got another medium-term job before I got my old job back. So it's a little bit complicated. But yes, my income has grown. So now the challenge is, so I did go full-time, but that was just until the 30th of June. I won't be doing full-time now. So the challenge is for me to figure out a way to increase my income again this year. So that's the challenge. So that's what I'm working on. You can help me stay accountable, because as I'm learning, I can be talking about things, but the accountability is what's important. So I appreciate you, YouTube. Thanks so much for watching. If you are a long-term subscriber, hello, it's great to see you. Thank you for hanging out with me. And if you are new to the channel, please subscribe. If you have any questions or ideas for videos in terms of how I've done something that you'd like to hear from me, please let me know in the comments below. Great to talk to you, YouTube, and I'll see you in the next one.